played the part ridiculously well. I don't know what's going on with my tier list now. This is because I've been bad-mouthing David Tennant. Welcome to the Northern Dalek YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing a Doctor Incarnation ranking video. Now, I was thinking about doing one of these, but since Shooty has left at the end of season 2, I thought, why not do one? Especially now that we haven't really got any kind of idea what's going to happen with the show moving forward as of yet. So, yeah. I'm only going to be ranking incarnations that have appeared on screen and had some sort of line. So Richard E. Grant's Ninth Doctor isn't going to be on the list because technically he didn't appear in the show. Well, he did appear in the show, he just didn't have any lines. It was just a nice little cameo thing. And I'm only going to be including things from the show. I'm not going to be including Big Finish or whatever, because if I was doing that, I'd be here all day. Anyway, I'm just going for the incarnations that we're seeing in the show and how they're portrayed, their eras and whatnot. Let's get straight into it. So, with the tier list, there may be one or two incarnations that I will be discussing my reasons for, but this is completely my own opinion. If you're most likely going to disagree, just because I have a tendency not to follow what everyone thinks of a certain thing, you know. So I'm going to allow myself 3 S tiers and everyone else can go wherever. If there is someone in the D category, it doesn't necessarily mean that I hate their take on the character or anything like that. It just comes down to personal preference and what I prefer when I'm watching the show and what I like. Also, I haven't mentioned I am wearing my glasses today and my eyesight is really bad at the minute. So yeah, I apologise if you can see the light reflecting off my lenses and whatnot. But anyway, let's get straight into it with the first Doctor, played by William Hartnell. Now, for me, good old Bill Hartnell is going to be a B tier. Now, I love Hartnell. I love his take on the character. Obviously, he's the original. He is the first. But I just prefer other incarnations. And you will see that as I go through this tier list, that I do prefer much darker takes on the character and whatnot. Troughton, or the second Doctor, played by Patrick Troughton, is a S tier for me. I love the second Doctor. I absolutely adore him. And I love his era. Sure, he has some real stinkers in there, like the space pirates, for example, the Crinoids, and there's other stories that I could mention. But in terms of the Doctor's characterization with the second Doctor, I love it. Speaking of Doctors that I love, my absolute favourite, Jon Pertwee, the third Doctor. Now, for me, not only is Jon's take on the character arguably my favourite, or one of my top 3 favourites, his entire era to me is just flat out perfect. It is the definitive era of the show. And sure, you could say Tom's era is and this, that and the other, but honestly, Tom's era really falls off after season 14, whereas Jon has season 7 to season 11, and sure, I will agree with the fact that season 11 is arguably the weakest out of his 5-season run. So, the fourth Doctor, played by the wonderful Tom Baker. Now, this is probably going to be the most controversial pick or placement on this tier list, and I know I'll get people in the comment section saying that I'm wrong, and I fully get it. I love Tom, I love his era, but I don't love his Doctor post season 14. Seasons 12 to 14 are top tier Doctor Who. And if I was exclusively thinking about Tom in that regard and those 3 seasons alone, he'd be an S incarnation for me. But his character changes dramatically after season 14, and season 16 and then 17 and then 18 he changes again. So for me, I'm going to put him in A. Now, again, I love Tom. I really do. I understand the love and the passion that fans have for his incarnation. He is the Doctor through and through. Not just as an actor. Tom is the embodiment of that character. And I understand it fully. But if I'm looking at Tom and his entire 7-season run, I really don't care for anything post season 14. I really don't. Sure, he's got like maybe 2 good stories here and there, The City of Death and like The Horror of Fang Rock to be exact, but everything else I could really do without. So in that regard, for me, he is going to have to go in A. And again, I understand the love for him. I just prefer other incarnations, and I'm I fully expect people in the comments to claim that I'm wrong, and I'm completely fine with that. Next, we have the 5th Doctor, played by Peter Davison. Now, for me, he is going to be the first D tier, or in the first incarnation in the D category. I have never really enjoyed his incarnation. I really don't like overly happy, fluffy doctors that have a real positive outlook on everything. Like, I understand it and I get it, and it's a nice thing to have, but I just think there's so many layers to the character that when it's portrayed one way rather than both, I just don't really care for it. And in all honesty, a lot of Davison's stories don't really do anything for me anyway. I just find him incredibly bland, and he is probably my least favourite incarnation. There's definitely 2 others, but we'll get to them eventually. But yeah, Davison for me, I understand. I get the appeal, but for me, he just doesn't do it. Now, Colin, or the 6th Doctor, played by Colin Baker. For me, Colin is going to be a B tier. Now, again, I mentioned I love the darker take on the Doctor, which I do, but I definitely feel like Colin's take on the Doctor, especially in the show, leans far too much, into that more nasty side of the Doctor, and he can be incredibly unpleasant at times. But again, I really enjoy Colin as the Doctor, but I fully get why he's regarded as not one of the best or anything, because he can be really unpleasant at times. But I love that he's a bit of a dick. I just wish his era was a bit better. Now, I love season 22. Season 23, I can take it or leave it, in all honesty. But overall, Colin, yeah, I do really like Colin's Doctor. He's just, a B tier for me. I can't put him in the same category as Tom, because I don't love him anywhere near as Tom. And he's definitely nowhere near as unenjoyable as Davison for me. Next, we've got the 7th Doctor, played by Sylvester McCoy. Now, this is another, or my 3rd and final S tier on this list. Now, the 7th Doctor, or McCoy, was the first incarnation of the character in terms of the classic era that I got into. And I absolutely love his... Now, season 24 is whatever. I really think that McCoy was just trying to find his footing with the character, which, it happens. But if I'm looking at, like, season 25 and season 26, where he's incredibly manipulative and really dark at times, I love that, because to me, that is what the Doctor is. He is such a grey character with questionable morals. Sure, he may, mean good or whatever, but I think, especially when we get to like the modern era of the show, the character is incredibly grey. Like, he's not great all the time, he's not bad, he genuinely is like that middle ground sort of thing, and I love that McCoy really found that with his interpretation of the character, and I love it. Again, I love the manipulative side to him, where he's really manipulating Ace in Remembrance of the Daleks and stuff like that. And again, he's I would say he's arguably one of the more mysterious incarnations that we've had of the character, and I love him for that. Paul McGann, the Eighth Doctor. Again, we're just doing what we see in the show. We're not going Big Finish or anything like that, and he's only had a few appearances. I'm going to put Paul in B. I love Paul, and I love his interpretation on the character. I just wish we had more of him, because I genuinely think he would be right up there. And again, I fully understand the love for him. I just want to see more of him in the actual show or with a spin-off. And I don't think anyone would disagree with that, in all honesty. I genuinely think he deserves more. Yeah, if I'm just going off like the TV movie and the Night of the Doctor and then Power of the Doctor, I just want to see more of him, but we haven't had enough. The main thing obviously is the TV movie, and I'm not the biggest fan of the TV movie, so for me I'm going to have to put him in B, because I do love his other two appearances, like in Power of the Doctor and Night of the Doctor, but again, I'm not that crazy about the TV movie. Next, the Ninth Doctor, played by Christopher Eccleston. For me, I would put Chris in S, but I can't put him in S. He's going to have to go in A. I absolutely adore, and I'm going to say this now, I genuinely believe Eccleston is probably one of the best new takes on the character in the revival. Hands down. We got one season with him, which is a real shame, but series 1 is just a fantastic series from start to finish, and I love this take on the character where he's survived the Time War and he's dealing with PTSD, and he's more angry, and I just love everything that Eccleston brought to the role. And he was my first Doctor, so there is some bias towards that, but he is absolutely amazing in the role, and just everything he brought to it. He is so memorable. And when people say they love the show and they watch the show, but they refuse or flat out won't watch his series, it absolutely baffles me, because to me, they are missing out on arguably, again, one of the best takes on the character in the revival. David Tennant as the 10th Doctor. For me, you're going to see, mate. Here's another one. Right. I'm going to say this now. As a kid, Tennant was my Doctor. When I was in school, like primary school, as like a really young kid, Tennant was my Doctor. I remember being in the playground and everyone wanted to be him, and going to school with my Sonic and the psychic paper, and I wanted my hair like his and stuff like that, and he was my Doctor. As I've gotten older and experienced the show more in terms of like Classic Who and what that's got to offer, I really dislike his take on the character. His era is good. I just don't care for his up the arse, arrogant take on the character. I really don't like that. You know, I'm the sexiest man in the room, and I'm also the smartest. Like that attitude the 10th Doctor has, I really don't like that. Especially when you compare it to every other incarnation. And this is probably just comes down to like a real pet peeve of mine. When people say that they love Doctor Who, and they say Tennant is their favourite Doctor, and they say they haven't watched any Classic Who and haven't watched anything post-Tennant, it blows my mind. So for me, he's going in C for that reason alone. Again, it's a pet peeve with fans, but it just annoys the shit out of me. Matt Smith as the 11th Doctor. For me, I'm going to put Matt in A. I love the 11th Doctor. I love Series 5. Series 5 is my favourite series in modern Who, so I am incredibly biased, but I love how layered the 11th Doctor is, where he has this persona of this really young or the face of a young person, but really, you know, he's an old man, and like Matt plays it perfectly. And like the outbursts he has, where he has these moments where he gets really dark and stuff, like he's a fun person to be around, but when he's pissed off, he's nasty. And I love that. I love that about his take on the Doctor. Now, sure, I'm not crazy about Series 6, and Series 7 is fine. So, you know, if I was going off eras, Matt would probably be down there. But I do love his Doctor. I really do, and yeah, I do prefer Matt to David. Next, we have the War Doctor, played by John Hurt. Now, we only got him for one story, so I'm going to put him in C. I was going to put him in D there. Honestly, John Hurt is a fantastic actor. The War Doctor. I'm going to put him in C. Yeah. I liked the War Doctor, but he only appeared in the one story, Day of the Doctor, and that was it. So, well, he appeared in The Name of the Doctor, but for like one line or something. But yeah, the War Doctor I do like. From what we saw, again, only taking into account what we've seen. Now, next we have Peter Capaldi, the 12th Doctor, and if I could, I'd put him in S. I'm going to put Peter above right, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to rearrange these, actually, and just so you know, yeah. Okay, so how the way I'm going to do it, I'm just going to say this now, is that every incarnation that is closer to the tier is my favourite in that category, and then as it goes out, yeah. Capaldi was arguably my favourite incarnation of the Doctor for years. When he first got announced, I immediately looked at him and thought, yeah, that's the Doctor. I didn't even see anything for Series 8 or anything like that. It was just the reveal, and I thought, that is the Doctor through and through. I'm on board, and I love him. Series 8 happened, and I love the darker take on the Doctor. Like, Capaldi is nasty in that series, and I love it. He's very alien, and I fully understand how it turned a lot of people off, because he is so different from, like, Matt's take on the Doctor and Tennant's. But I love it. I love the Series 8 take on Capaldi. Series 9 happened and completely undone all of that. They went in the completely opposite direction. He's far too friendly, far too, I don't know, like, they really just went in the opposite direction with his incarnation for some reason. It was probably just due to the fact that, like, there was a lot of backlash and a lot of talk about how fans didn't like that take on the character, or casuals or whatever. I remember it very well at the time. But I remember watching Series 9 and just thinking, this isn't the Doctor that I fell in love with, and I don't really care for this take on the character. Series 10 came out, and it genuinely has, like, the perfect blend of the character. You know, it takes the dark alien and the very vicious side that he had in Series 8, and then it takes the more friendly, approachable aspect that Series 9 tried to give him, and just, like, makes them work. And if we had that throughout Capaldi's entire run, I genuinely think he would be arguably, like, one of still my favourite Doctors, but he just misses out. And, you know, when I'm talking about my top 5 favourite incarnations, it's Pertwee, Troughton, McCoy, Eccleston, Capaldi, then Tom. I know, call me, you know, all the names in the sun for not having Tom in my top 5, but I've explained my reasons. But I mean, that would make more sense, wouldn't it, if I did that? Yeah. Again, I love Capaldi's take on the Doctor, and I wish he stayed for a lot longer. It's a real shame that he hasn't come back to the show, because he's just he's so amazing. Like, especially when I watch like clips of him now, I really appreciate his incarnation a lot more, and I really wish I did at the time. Even though he was my favourite Doctor for many years. And as the years go by, and as I've like rediscovered or really went into Classic Who and stuff, he's just dropped down ever so slightly. But in my top 5, I love them equally, regardless. Next, we have the 13th Doctor, played by Jodie Whittaker, and she's going in D. The same issues can apply for Jodie as they did with Davison. I don't care for this overly happy, positive outlook the Doctor has with everything, or the fam. I mean, that, and to be fair, Jodie's era just did nothing for me. It was far too sunshine and just rainbows and happy-go-lucky. Look, you know, we're having a great time. And sure, I understand the appeal, but that's not what I want from the show, in all honesty. I love that dark, gritty, gothic horror and stuff like that. That Pertwee and Tom's era brought. But again, like, just the characterization of Jodie's Doctor just did nothing for me. I didn't really get the sense that this is, you know, a morally grey character. It's just a very positive character, and I'm not enjoying that very much. That, and a lot of the time, I didn't really like Jodie's performance. And sure, there was definitely moments where I was like, she's really good at this. But a lot of the time, it just didn't do it for me, which is a real shame, because when she came back in the reality war, it did get a reaction out of me, and I was like, oh my god, it's Jodie, even though she's not an incarnation that I really care for, in all honesty. But yeah, which is a shame. I wish I, you know, liked that incarnation, because she's the easy target for people to hate on, and it's a real shame. But for me, those are my reasons why she is in D for me. Yeah. Next, we have David Tennant once again as the 14th Doctor. Now, I'm going to put the 14th Doctor in A. Now, there's a lot of thing online, you know, is the 14th Doctor canon and all this stuff, by people who just flat out refuse to accept that David Tennant was cast 3 times or whatever. Listen, I love the 60th anniversary specials, all 3 of them. Sure, the Star Beast has a weird sort of ending, as does the Giggle, but I love Tennant's performance as the 14th Doctor over the 10th Doctor, because the 14th Doctor actually has like the characterization and the development of, you know, 11, 12, 13, all rolled into one, and he feels more understanding and more human, if that makes sense, despite my dislike for like Jodie's overly human take. Well, not really, because she's very emotionally unaware of stuff or whatever. But I do love the 14th Doctor, and he's like, I don't know, for me, like, that is just a better take on the Doctor by Tennant. Like, he's not arrogant, he's not up his own arse, he genuinely is very caring, and we see that in Wild Blue Yonder, where he's he's comforting Donna and stuff, and, you know, kissing her hand, and he's very open with his emotions, in a sense that we do see these moments where he's weak and vulnerable, where, I don't know, just with Tennant, I didn't really get in it. Obviously, with going back to the 10th Doctor, you know, the whole thing, I don't want to go and then crying and stuff. It's like, oh god, whatever. So yeah, the 14th Doctor I do really like. I know we only got him for 3 episodes, but honestly, I could have watched an entire season with David as that take of the Doctor in the 14th incarnation, easily over like the 10th. And I know there's going to be people who say, well, it's just basically the same thing. It really isn't. When you compare the characterization of both Doctors, the 14th Doctor is so different to the 10th. It's like, you know, but yeah, for me, he is in A, at the bottom of A, because obviously we only have 3 episodes with him, but he did make a real big impact. Next we have, I'm going to save Shooty for last. Next we have Joe Martin as the Fugitive Doctor, and I like Joe Martin's take on the Doctor quite a lot. She's very mysterious. Obviously, we don't know a lot about her, but what the implications in the canon and stuff like that, I don't really like. I really wish we got more of her. This is the thing as well, and I will say this. When she appeared in Fugitive Doctor, I really wanted the show to kind of go, yeah, we're going to just follow her now over like Jodie's take, which is a real shame, but Joe Martin's take on the Doctor just felt more in line with the character, and I just really, you know, preferred her kind of like take on the role. So for me, she's above the War Doctor easily. I can't put her above Tennant because listen, there's still stuff that I love with the 10th Doctor, despite everything that I said. I'm going to put her in C. Now, I understand the love for this incarnation, but again, she only appeared a few times and she continues to only appear a few times. So in that sense, I can't really get behind her that much. But also, despite myself liking that incarnation, I don't really care for her that much, you know? Next, Shooty as the 15th Doctor. Our most recent incarnation that unfortunately got absolutely done over by the BBC if you've read any of the leaks and anything like that. But his take on the Doctor for me, I'm going to put him in C. Now, if I was going off series 1, he'd be in D. Easily for me, D. But because I've really enjoyed season 2 until the reality war, and I've really enjoyed Shooty's take on the Doctor in season 2, I'm going to have to put him in C. I think he's a good actor to take on the role and like what he brings, but I just don't care for like the whole modern aesthetics that he brought with it, like the not aesthetics, the phrases and stuff, you know, like babes or whatever. Like that just doesn't sound like the Doctor to me. And obviously when Jodie did it with like fam and stuff like that, it's like, yeah, I don't like that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna have to put him in C because I really think there was more to his Doctor that we should have saw. And I fully believe that his incarnation could have been set up to be a dark and twisted take on the character because of the whole torture scene in the Interstellar Song Contest. And again, there was a whole backlash with that, but that is very much in line with the character. He's very grey in that regard. Like, just because Modern Who has depicted the character as this overly positive person doesn't mean he's never been a grey character. And for most of the history with this character, he's been a grey character. So for them to go back to that in a sense, and what I was referring to, how he's a dark and twisted incarnation, is that he hides it all behind the smiles and the, you know, positive outlook and stuff and the vibes and stuff. But when that comes off, he's dark. He's very, I don't know, he just feels like the Doctor when that veil comes off. Like the scenes where he has like with comrades and he's really, you know, telling him, like, he's telling him about his future and stuff, and he's like, "You're gonna die alone." Or the scene in Dot and Bubble where he walks away and he has this moment where he tries to stop himself to try and, like, you know, go still try and help those people, but he just carries on walking. And there's like other scenes as well where you can see the veil, like there's more to that incarnation that we unfortunately will not see, and that's a real shame. But that is my list of all 15 Doctors, including the Fugitive and the War. So 17, if you want to get technical. Yeah, let me know in the comment section below your favourite incarnations and whatnot. I know for a fact I'm going to have people saying that I'm wrong and this, that and the other for not including certain incarnations in S tier or whatever. But I feel like I've covered my ground. And I feel like I've explained my reasons as to why, say, Tom is in A rather than S, and I fully understand the love for that take on the character. Overall, yeah, this was a fun video. I mean, I was waiting for Shooty to eventually leave. If that was in, like, 2 years or whatever, I was going to make a video like this. But because, obviously, he has left in such a short notice, and again, we don't really know when the show's going to come back, I thought, why not just make this video, you know, cement your thoughts on each incarnation and whatnot, and just kind of make like a tier list. Listen, it's just a bit of fun. Please don't take any of this too seriously. I know certain fans really take this thing to heart, where you put like certain incarnations in certain lists or whatever. I get it, but it's just a TV show at the end of the day, and yeah, I just thought this video would be a bit of fun. It's also a TV show that I'm not gonna watch moving forward, but I will make a video on probably my thoughts on the reality, or I'll make a video on my thoughts on the reality war. But if I don't, there is a video on my Instagram page where I went live and I just basically ripped into it and gave all my thoughts and whatever about it. And yeah, but listen, I'm not going to drag the video down talking about a really shitty season final. Yeah, this was just a video that I wanted to make. So thank you so much for watching. I also quickly want to say before I go, a massive thank you to everyone that has shown support on my 3D printed figure video. Honestly, thank you so much. Just from like the love that I'm getting off that and like the new subscribers. Yeah, that's it really. I'm probably not going to post for another 2 weeks, just because I'm super busy. I'm not going to be in the country, so I'm just getting this made, and then I'm going to put it out tomorrow, which will be Friday. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.